Hey guys, Naterz here, and when looking at the MultiVersus roster, there is a series that sticks out pretty big. A series that currently populates much of the roster, but when you think about it, it makes sense. That series being DC. Currently, we have 6 DC characters, which may seem like a lot, but take a moment and think about it. DC is such a big series. It has so many characters to choose from. We are talking about literally thousands of character possibilities. And I actually don't mind DC taking up a decent portion of the roster, because in my mind, it should. There are some really cool characters in the DC universe who could have some really potentially neat movesets. And in today's video, I'll be talking about them. Due to the large number of DC characters that exist, I may end up missing your favorite. I have thought about making a part 2 to this video in the future though. So if your favorite character is missing by the end of the video, let me know down in the comments and I will consider including them in the next one. Let's first start off with a character that I see requested the most, that being Darkseid. I am a part of the MultiVersus community on Twitter, and there are a lot of DC characters that have MultiVersus accounts. But one of the biggest and the most passionate of those accounts definitely has to be Darkseid. But the character himself also has a lot of potential. I mean, Darkseid has been thought to be one of the most powerful DC characters ever, so of course he would be very menacing in MultiVersus. The first thing that comes to my mind is the fact that he has these really unique lasers that he can shoot from his eyes called Omega Beams. I'm sure that he would use those if he were to get in. It would feel so weird if he didn't. He also is just a brute himself. He would be able to use his power to deliver some strong punches and attacks. Darkseid never really was one of my favorite DC characters, so I don't really know a ton about him, but I think that he also has some minions that he could use in his moveset as well. Overall, I feel like Darkseid is a must-have character if we are to get more DC characters in the roster. I think that Poison Ivy would be a very unique character to get into MultiVersus. A character who can control plants would certainly have a lot of potential in a fighting game. Plus, they can take so many creative liberties with her. As long as her moveset involves plants, she will feel in character, so the devs can basically do anything. She can also be a pretty neat ranged character as well. She could use her wrist bow and arrow, which is a pretty neat weapon in my opinion. It could have a reload mechanic where it would run out of ammo and be put on a cooldown. She could also have a move where she could blow a kiss and pink fog shoots forward. The fog could be controlled by the player, similar to Tom and Jerry's rocket. If it hits a player, they become slower and do less damage for a short period of time. This all goes to show that she has a lot that the devs can work with. Not to mention there is more that I didn't even talk about. If she gets in, I really hope that Audrey 2 gets in as well, as I think that they would be an awesome team to see. I think that Poison Ivy would make such a great addition to the roster, and I would love to see her added. Another character with a MultiVersus account that has a pretty big following behind it would have to be the Flash. I personally think that the Flash would be really cool, but I also think that he would be very hard to pull off. The thing that makes him unique is his speed, and how do you implement that in a fighting game? I'm sure that the devs would be able to figure something out, but it does seem like it would be a tough character to accomplish. I do hope that we see him at some point in the game's future though. Another hero that I would like to see would have to be Plastic Man. Plastic Man has such a fun personality and could have a really unique moveset. I know that we already have Jake in the game who can stretch, but I think there are more things that we can get out of a stretchy character. I think that Plastic Man could turn his limbs into different things to fight with. Jake stretches his body, but he only has a couple transformation moves. I think that Plastic Man could mostly have transformation moves. For example, he could turn his head into a dinosaur and have a chomp move, propel himself upward by turning into a spring, or literally anything else. His body can transform into anything imaginable. The devs could do whatever they wanted with him, which is really neat. I think that Plastic Man has a lot of potential and I really would love to see him get into the game. Mr. Freeze was my favorite DC villain growing up, and I think that he would be a fantastic inclusion in MultiVersus. Yes, there are many characters with ice powers that we could see get in, but maybe we could have a few of them. If we do get multiple, I hope that Mr. Freeze is one of them. I'd expect that maybe Sub-Zero or Ice King are above him on the list, but maybe I'm wrong. The fun part with Freeze would be his variant possibilities. He would obviously have moves where he shoots ice, but his variants would change how he shoots the ice. He could have variants where he uses his freeze gun, or a variant of his Batman Beyond appearance where he just shoots ice out of his hands. Or even he could have a Captain Cold variant. I think that he has a lot of potential and could be a really fun character and a lot of fun to play if they pulled him off correctly. I got to watch the Blue Beetle movie in theaters, and I'm not gonna lie, I really enjoyed it. It adds so much energy, and I think that Blue Beetle would make a great character addition to MultiVersus. Plus, just last week, it was announced that he is getting his own animated TV show, so I think there is a pretty good chance of getting him. Another thing pointing to his inclusion is the fact that his WB logo was shown at the beginning of the cinematic trailer. This might mean nothing, but it's fun to speculate as well. I'm gonna say I don't know much about the character outside of the movie, but I do know that in the movie his suit can basically create whatever he wants it to. Plus, the whole point of the suit is to protect its user, so I think that it would make a lot of sense to give Blue Beetle a counter move. I think that that could be really neat, and I would love to see Blue Beetle get added into the MultiVersus roster. He could probably also have a sword move, because I know that he also uses that in the movie. The devs can do a lot with him, and I do hope to see him added in the future. I think that Killer Moth could be a really fun joke character for the game, and he does have moveset potential. He could use his cocoon gun or some other guns that he has been seen with. Or maybe he could even be a character with a transformation. In The Batman, he is exposed to some radiation and then turns into this moth beast thing. But once he transforms, he cannot transform back. When he dies in the game, however, he is then turned back into the normal moth. This could be a fun way to make him pretty unique. When he transforms, he is a lot bigger and does more damage, but when he is his regular self, he is lighter and smaller. It kinda gives you a risk reward, because once you transform, you can't have the moves that you had previously, but you are a lot bigger and more powerful now, so I think that's really neat. This idea could be a lot of fun, and I really would love to see Killer Moth added. We are currently at 751 subscribers and nearing 1,000. So if you are enjoying this video, consider subscribing. It would mean a lot and definitely encourage me to make future videos. Deathstroke could be a very interesting sword fighter for MultiVersus. This is because he uses two swords. Most sword fighters in fighting games only use one, so I think it makes Deathstroke pretty unique. Plus, he is also great with guns and pretty much any other weapon imaginable. Not to mention, he's also just good at good old hand-to-hand combat. I think that Deathstroke could be a really unique character and have a pretty fun moveset, and I do think that we might see him in the future of MultiVersus. An archer is not a character type that we have seen represented yet in MultiVersus, unless if you count Gizmo, I guess. But I think that Green Arrow would be a great character to fit this unrepresented category. The fun part is the fact that he has so many different types of arrows. He calls them trick arrows. I mean, literally just Google Green Arrow arrows and you will get a vast selection, ranging from a boxing glove arrow all the way to a buzzsaw arrow. I also found this really interesting website while doing research for this video. There is a website specifically dedicated to all the different arrows that comic book archers have used. Most of it is Green Arrow, but there are some other comic book characters like Hawkeye from Marvel that also have interesting arrows. The devs could use this website for some ideas. Personally, the bubblegum arrow seems fun to me. Green Arrow is my favorite DC hero, and I really think and hope that we could see him in the future of MultiVersus. King Shark was my favorite part about the Suicide Squad, and I would very much like to see him included in the game. He would be a fantastic tank, and could go around chomping and using his brute strength. I mean, if you have seen the movie, this guy is basically invincible. None of this video has so far has been about the characters in order, but if I were to order them, King Shark would probably be fairly low due to him not having a ton of moveset potential. But I really love this character, so I feel like I have to include him. Chemo is my favorite DC character of all time. He is so fascinating to me. I've actually made a whole moveset on him, so if you are curious to learn more about him, consider watching that. His chemical sprays are the definitive thing that make him unique, but he also can stretch his body, grow in size, and can even transform into other characters when coming in contact with their cells, like he did to Superman. He's also had so many different appearances where costumes would be no problem at all for him. I think that he would be a fantastic addition to the roster and definitely would liven it up. I think that shining some light on lesser known DC characters would be really cool, and Chemo would fit that slot really well. The final character that I want to mention in this video is Frankenstein. DC's Frankenstein is super cool. He's this big sword-wielding character with a pretty cool outfit choice, and he is featured in the upcoming Creature Commandos TV show. In it, he is voiced by David Harbour, an actor that I really like. He's played in Stranger Things, Gran Turismo, Black Widow, Hellboy, and so much more. If we get a Creature Commando character in the game to promote the show, I am really hoping that it is Frankenstein, as I would love to see him, and I think that he would be an amazing addition to the MultiVersus roster. With that, I think we will end the video here. Again, DC has a lot of characters, and I wasn't able to include them all. So if there is a character that you would like to see who I did not include in this video, let me know down in the comments. At some point, I will probably make a part 2. Next week, I plan on uploading another MultiVersus video, so if that sounds interesting, look forward to that. If you enjoyed the video, consider subscribing. It would mean a lot, and I really would appreciate it. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all next week.